right, here we are. So can you see that? Is that coming up on your screen?
Alrighty.
Yeah?
Yep, yep, that's coming up.
Can we match
Hmm.
it?
Yep. Do you want to come in more here? If you don't mind. Yeah, I think you'll think, yeah, that's better. Amazing. Alrighty, good to go.
Yeah, take it away, Bella.
Alrighty. So this is a little presentation. Awesome, thank you. I've chosen a paragraph Saucha or Sausha to talk about for our yamas and niyamas presentation. So as you may have revised with both Amy and Nikki, yamas are the first of the eightfold path of Patanjali's eightfold path to yoga. And yamas, they're ethical guidelines or spiritual observances on how we can more ethically conduct ourselves in life. We may like to think of them as a mighty universal vow. So going on to the second slide, please, Nikki. Thank you. And then we also look at the second one of yoga, which is and transit into I think to go within. So there are no perfect practices. Would that be right? Sudha, like the knee, or is also without, yeah, like nirbija samadhi. So maybe two meanings there. Niyamas is the second limb of the Eightfold Path, and they're more focused on personal practices, typically involving discipline and self-restraint. So consciously choosing to refrain from, say, over drinking, overeating, or taking too many things, too many gifts, for example, which we'll get into. So let's start with aparigraha. That is the yama. And let's go to slide 4. I chose a lot of stock images of women just opening their arms and like, opening the heart chakra in to show um, giving and receiving, because I feel that although aparigraha is about freedom from greed, then an extreme version of it is non-acceptance of gifts. Um, I think that applied back in the days of where they had to compete against how to the world and they were very an acidic lifestyle. I think that's from maybe, yeah, that's okay. So what does a parigraha mean? So it means freedom from possessiveness, envy, freedom from rigidity of thought. So not only physically, like not amassing so much stuff, material possessions, it's also about what else are we hoarding, other than the physical, like thoughts, memory, feelings of, say, resentment, frustration, anger, or hoarding too many of, the opposite emotions and maybe using them as a device to distract us from the present moment. So just being aware that a parigraha is multi-layered. It's not only the physical material possessions, but also the emotional, the intellectual, maybe the mental patterns, thoughts, schemas we may unconsciously have playing in our head. Um, yeah, detachment, I think it is, I guess in a way, yeah, yeah, I think, yeah. Um, there's yeah, it's like you're detaching from them, not identifying with, yeah, not identifying with the possession, not identifying with the thought, um, knowing that that's not really you, but that's a reflection potentially of the ego. So other elements of aparigraha include things like forgiveness and generosity, being able to say, um, no, my cup is full. I don't need any more. Like, hey, you can have this coat or this coat that can be great on you. Or letting go of an emotion, or actually saying, I'm gonna forgive that family of accusing me of doing this. I'm not gonna let it, hang over my head anymore. Like a very bad as practicing the parigraha with recognizing, allowing them to feel, allowing yourself to feel the emotions, maybe even investigating, maybe not cognitively, but say on a physical level, where do I feel that emotion? And giving it some space and then allowing yourself to let it, but also let it go. Not hoarding, not needing to, I need to own everything, control everything. It's like, no, detach, feel, and allow it to go back into the ocean, back into the back into the ether from where it came, which is literally nowhere. Um, I also pulled a quote here from the Yoga Sutras. It translates in English to knowledge of past and future lives unfolds when one is free from greed for possessions. I'll say that one again. So when one's mastered a parigraha, knowledge of past and future lives unfolds when one is free from greed for possessions. This person is called an aparigrahin, someone who can see future lives. What do you think that means in a modern day context? Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, chapter 2, Sutra 39, it says, knowledge of past and future lives unfolds when one is free from greed or possession. But have a think about it. It's a pretty out there bold statement. We can come back to that. But I just thought that's some food for thought. And like, would there be any benefit of knowing, past and future lives?
And of course, I think for most of us, that's quite a fascination, isn't
Mm,
it? To be able to know your past or future lives.
mm,
But yeah, that's a good question. Is there really um, a use for that, or is it just going to
mm,
satisfy our fascination?
mm, mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think it can be quite mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. So they're not living they can do unless it's transformed. And it's not. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Um, and I've also put, yep, there are benefits, like you mentioned, Total and Sudha, that can help us in this present life. And also, on the other hand, they could, maybe the past and future life mode could serve as a distraction if like ahamkara, the ego, gets latched onto say a past life or future life where we're feeling superhuman or we've done this amazing thing, or if we were such a bad person and getting caught up in that and sort of going down a rabbit hole, but then it's like they're bringing it all back to center, I find. So both a blessing and could be a curse depending on how the person chooses to get use knowledge, I feel. And let's pop on over to the next slide, please, Mickey.
Sure. Just so you know, I can't hear when I can hear you mostly, Bella.
Yep, yep.
You cut in and out, but anyone else speaking, I can't hear them.
Oh, okay. So
So maybe if someone says something, if you could just summarize what they say, that would be great.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But move on
Sorry,
anyway.
okay.
Okay.
Um, so an example of a parigraha in our modern day, I think of Marie Kondo, because she sparked that whole movement of, clearing out what you really don't need and actually filling your life with both clothes, with material possessions, with things, as well as I think people you want to have in your life. You feel that it's going to bring you joy. You're going to feel purposeful. There's a deeper meaning to that connection. Another example of our parigraha is living in moderation, living seasonally, living in accordance to the cycles of nature, which is what the sister science of yoga Ayurveda is all about. A lot of these ancient traditions, they live seasonally. They live in harmony with nature, eating the right foods, consuming the right types of foods and drink according to the season, according to their own dosha, their own constitution. And another one is like Sudha said, yeah, detaching from thoughts. We don't necessarily have to follow every thought that comes into the mind, into manas. The mind is meant to be a thought machine, and it likes to tick along, feel important. So also have cultivating that self-awareness to catch ourselves whenever this kind, is this helpful, is this even necessary, to help catch ourselves when we feel okay we're going down a rabbit hole or straying away from who we really are, which is always there. The gold is always there. So yeah, it's really, I think a parigraha is cultivating that detachment, that ability to discern what's truth, what is fear, what is unhelpful, what is in the ego. And a nice mudra for it is the lotus flower. So the lotus flower mudra, it's all about the story of how the lotus can grow in the dark, in the wet, underground, in the earth, from this little seed, and by the grace of nature, of faith, it sprouts into this beautiful pink and green lotus. And it's about just receiving and just trusting that life will unfold the way it needs to.
My friend has a lotus flower tattoo, and she says that it symbolizes like beauty after going through hardship, like growing through the shit.
Yeah. So Polly's friend has a tattoo of the lotus flower, which symbolizes beauty through hardship, through experiencing all the tough, sticky times, literally going through shit to turn out really pretty. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Cool. And a nice pranayama or breathing technique would be the pursed lipped breath. So we could inhale through the nose, and as we exhale, slightly part the lips as if we were whistling or sipping a cool drink, and really slowing down the breath, cooling down the mind, cooling down any agni or fire that may be burning unnecessarily in the mind or in the body, that's causing, the mind to fluctuate, to calm us right down. So that's a parigraha. Any questions?
When you say following the seasons, are we referencing the winter, summer, spring, autumn, or is there a different concept of seasons?
Good question. Jem asked when I said when we're talking about living in harmony with nature, with the seasons, are we following summer, autumn, winter, and spring, or is there another type of cycle or wheel of time that the ancient yogis followed?
Well, it's always just relevant to where you are, because if you think about different, we have in mind that set of seasons, but we know that even, well, I don't know if you know, but even the Aborigines have a different breakup of the seasons for our land here, which is slightly different. I can't remember what they are exactly, but then like living in a tropical country, then the seasons are different again. It's monsoon season and it's wet season, dry season. So yeah, I think it's just following the cycles, the seasons of where you're living. So if we consider where it's coming from, then the yogis would have been following those cycles of kind of monsoonal season, monsoon, dry season. But I think the lesson is just to be in tune with following the seasons of nature where you're living.
That's beautiful. That's true. Yep. I've actually just read in a book on yin and yang that in ancient China they say that where that individual is, that's the center of the universe, and in the West it's often heard that no, you're not the center of the universe, but in ancient China it's like no, it's where you are, and that's where you see the sun, which is your yang, that's in the south, and then your north is in the yin. But it all depends on where you actually are. Are you in the northern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere? So it's very interesting, the different ideology there. Went on okay, so next slide.
And just quickly on that,
Yeah.
I'd just like to add that that aparigraha is like you explained there, but you also mentioned non-attachment. So it's non-attachment of possessions is the easiest way to understand, but it's also, like you said, non-attachment of thoughts, and that's, I think, a really important lesson, because essentially it's fine-tuning our identity of who we are. So if we identify as a person, as a persona, which in our personhood thing, our persona comes and goes and changes and fluctuates. So all the things in the manifest world really have that quality. So we, as the truth of who we are, which is consciousness. In consciousness, there's nothing to gain and nothing to own, nothing at all to have. You've got it all in pure consciousness. So we only attach to things when we have this kind of misidentity of who we are, thinking that we need things to fulfill us. We need material possessions on one level, but then even the identity of the mind and our bodies, that possessiveness is a parigraha, is letting go of that as well, so that we are purely identified with consciousness, and then in that identity of consciousness, there's nothing to lose, so nothing to have, nothing to gain either, something like that.
Yeah. Wonderful. So liberating. So liberating, probably said.
Well, it is. That's why it's called liberation. Freedom, enlightenment is another word for its liberation. And it's totally liberating when you let go of all your attachments and all your supposed needs or wants.
So onto Saucha, and then onto slide 7. So Saucha is defined as purity, cleanliness, clarity. Also, I interpret this also as self-care. Cleanse the thoughts. For example, just watching, witnessing thoughts like we would witness traffic or clouds traveling across the sky, just watching them. Cleansing thoughts, words, which are the results of the thoughts. So it's important to choose the thoughts wisely, and if there are times where we can't, which is that's every day, just observe, and also cleanse the actions which are a result of the thoughts. So an untidy house could lead to a bit of a disorganized or a frazzled mentality, and we're thinking, because I know if the bedroom's out of order or like the kitchen is messy, that also translates to you, and that energy can stick to you. So it's like tidy environment, beautiful, happy, clean, spacious house or room. That is a nice reflection that will also reflect in your mind in how you feel. And so it, again, similarly to a parigraha, it's something that we can physically do, like cleaning our yoga mat, cleaning the home, showering, bathing, and also with our thoughts, with the mental body, with the emotional body, the psychological body, just witnessing and choosing consciously and carefully what we allow into our mind, what we consume, our diets, like social diet, our actual food diet, our sleep diet. And I've also put in habit versus ritual. Humans are creatures of habit, and we say usually get up at a similar time each day. Floss, brush the teeth, wash the face, have the routine, and that's all great. But sometimes we can do that on like an autopilot mode and lose the meaning behind it. It's like reframing, like, oh, I've got to like floss my teeth. Oh my God. It's like, no, I get to floss my teeth and spend some time, with myself, like doing this attentively, not harshly, not in a rush to get to the next thing, like viewing each moment or each activity in life as more of a ritual or kind of a mini ceremony in a way, bringing that magic into the mundane, which we sometimes can, like boring, like I'm waiting for the weekend. Like, no, it's like we can bring that excitement, the little pockets of magic, spontaneity, novelty. Do it by thinking, okay, let's use brushing teeth as a ritual to really cleanse the mind, cleanse the teeth, and we're cleansing the mind. As I clean my teeth, I'm cleaning out the debris of what no longer serves.
Is that like a similar idea to like Tantra? Like when you're bringing awareness and mindfulness to just, like really mundane activities that you're doing.
I think so. Yeah, Mel asked, is this similar to Tantra, like bringing awareness, mindfulness, and wakefulness to daily activities such as, brushing teeth and really feeling into the goodness of brushing teeth? I would say that yes, like Tantra is, from my understanding, like about, really feeling into what it is you're doing and being absorbed in the present moment.
Absolutely, and on that, it's really it's recognizing the divinity in everything, in all the expressions. So even if it's just flossing your teeth, but there's something divine in just that in itself. So yeah, absolutely.
Like you're doing dishes, it's like washing your dishes to then go meditate. It's like you're missing the point.
Yeah.
It's like make your life your practice. and
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah, Christina quoted Ramdas, like someone washing the dishes, but rushing,
Unconsciously.
like,
doing
yeah,
that,
like unconsciously rushing to, get the dishes done so that I can sit down in lotus and, meditate. And it's like the art of washing the dishes, like if you did it rushedly, if you did it in a rushed way, you're missing the point of, yeah, like enlightenment can be found in washing the dishes. Enlightenment can be found in, mindfully vacuuming the floor, just being there. Like that's a glimpse of samadhi. That's where it is, where it can be found. Yeah. Sorry, Mickey.
Yeah, absolutely. Being in the flow.
Yeah. Wu Wei, what we learned in Yin, Wu Wei, like the actionless action, effortless effort, not forcing, not saying, oh my God, I'm dragging my feet to do this thing. Like, oh, but it's like, no, you get to. And like, yeah, you're human. Do the human thing, be a human being, not always a human doing. Yes. Magic every day. And there is a lovely relationship between another, I think is tapas and niyama. Yes, niyama. Yep. Interplay between tapas and saucha. Tapas being that discipline, that heat, burning away any like impurities, but through like consistent, regular practice, whether we cultivate tapas in our asana, in our physical practice, tapas in our consistent dedication to our breath work, to our meditation, to showing up for friends or family, like that energy of discipline and saucha, they really go hand in hand, because it's important, I feel, to have a consistent emotional cleanse, physical cleanse practice, self-care practice, which I feel saucha is about. So I thought that would be relevant to bring up, and how tapas, I think it marries with each each niyama, each yama, to consistently do a thing or practice practice a yama, practice a niyama, similar to the Japanese concept of kaizen, where you say, I want to do this activity, like 2 minutes every day for 64 days, and it makes it more doable and like achievable in your mind, where as opposed to like, I'm gonna hit the gym like 40 minutes every day, and it's like, whoa, like ugh. But even if you do something very little, like a minute each day for 2 weeks or something, I think that could build like a nice momentum. So yeah, tapas, I thought I've got to tip my hat off to tapas.
Tapas is, in a sense, it's like the energetic boost of prana, of the of the universe, that's just flowing, and we're just tuning into that. So giving us that boost to then make the seemingly at least make an effort to then work on our saucha or whatever other yama niyama we're working with.
Like the spark, like that ignition, like that to initiate, to instigate. And then I also quoted from the sutras, Sauchat Svanga Jugupsa Pariya Asam Sarag, translates to cleanliness of body and mind develops disinterest in contact with others for self-gratification. I'll say that again. Cleanliness of the body and cleanliness of the mind, it develops disinterest within us in contact with others for self-gratification. So how I think of that, how I understood that, was when we are clear in thought, when the mind is as still as it can be, like peaceful, when we feel content and whole and good in ourselves and about ourselves, and we're not seeking a distraction, or just calling up a friend out of nowhere, like, oh, entertain me, I'm bored, let's hang out, like just looking for something for self-interest. That Pardon?
Instagram likes.
Yeah, the Instagram likes, that just shows that, maybe we've cultivated enough like Saucha within us, that we're in a clean, in a pure, in a more feeling holy state, that we're like, we don't really need to reach outside of ourselves, like Nikki said, because we already have the tools, or are the universe within us. We're a microcosm of the macrocosm. Although that's why we're here in this dual world, to realize ourselves through others, through each lovely interaction. But in and of ourselves, we have all the elements of the earth, of the universe within us, and if we can believe it and feel it, then it's like, we've got the magic in me, we've got the magic in you, and we don't need to be seeking outward things like, food, always like food as a distraction. I know I do that, or like Netflix, just randomly searching something, online shopping. Not that that's wrong, but like when we're just, I don't know, bored, or doing it unconsciously, or like
consuming.
Yeah, mindlessly, mindless consumption, without ever turning the mirror in and being like, okay, how can I fulfill, this desire or this need? But then also at the same time, not knowing that you have to do everything yourself, because that's not why we're here either. So it's a fine dance.
It's like filling the void.
Filling the void.
Filling the void with outward things, outward distractions, outward consumption, as opposed to doing the work.
Oh yeah, like filling the void, what Mel said, with outward distraction and outward things, instead of doing the work, or really, looking at ourselves and sitting with ourselves in a room. Like they say that man's problem is the fact that he can't sit in a room for more than 24 hours by himself. He can't sit still, she can't sit still, they can't sit still. And that's where our problems stand for. But if we could, maybe we'd be like, oh, I'm actually okay. Like I don't need to search outward when what I'm looking for is already in me. And it's kind of ironic and funny, but this is the game that we're here to play. So, yeah.
Recognizing as well, like we'll never be fulfilled within if we're always seeking outwards, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
So until that balance inside. Oh, hi.
Hello.
Stage fright now.
Deer in headlights. Sorry, yeah. So it's really just echoing what you've all said. It's until we recognize and fulfill within, the external stuff is never going to satisfy. And that's why, some people can go through life, always wanting something more materialistically. Let's get a nicer car, let's get this, let's get that
house.
And it's okay, like that's their destiny at that point. But where am I finishing with this? I'm gonna leave there. It was like, see.
Bottomless pit, it's never going to, you're never going to find bottom desire.
Bottomless pit. Bottomless pit of desires and wants. So it's like, okay, if that's the human mind, if that's what it's already programmed to do, great that I know that. So now that I can try to let go of that, and not really put my self-worth in having the things, in getting a higher pay rise and getting that next best car or that nicer hairdo or whatever. It's just like, can we, like Sudha's theme today, which is acceptance, can we radically accept ourselves here and now? Smelly armpits and maybe hasn't showered in a day. Can you accept yourself now? Can you love yourself before the teeth whitening, the boob job, whatever it is, And it's like, can you? And I think we all can. I think we can if we put our soul to it, if we put our mind to it.
We'll try to.
We can try to.
We'll try to at least.
We can,
Yeah.
and the trying, the striving, that's enough. Even just having the intent, like visualizing it, like that's something. Bless you. Cleansing the body. cleansing the body. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, kind of like allergies.
Yeah, it's okay. And Saucha helps the body develop its potential. It helps the body develop its potential to change behavioral patterns and helps the sadhaka, the practitioner of yoga, detach from sensual desires, similar to aparigraha and pratyahara. Another quote I wrote is, when the body is cleansed, the mind purified, and the senses controlled, joyful awareness needed to realize the inner self also comes. Quite lovely. Yeah, I think that's really nice. So when the temple is clean, the seer feels joy of self-awareness. When consciousness is cheerful and benevolent, the seeker becomes ready to receive the knowledge of the soul. When you're happy where you are, when you feel the joy, your mind is free of sensual desire, or as still as it can be, or as free of as sensual desire as it can be for that sadhaka, that individual, then the joy can come in. The knowledge of the inner light of awareness that pops up more and more. The next slide, examples of saucha, taking positive action, conscious action to clean the physical body and environment consistently, mindful bathing, mindful cleaning of the home, yoga mat, perhaps even picking up litter at a beach or a park if you do see it, taking positive action to purify your internal mind, yoga asana, meditation, body and spirit. And some examples of the pranayama that could help would be ujjayi breath and kapalabhati breath. So the ujjayi, the slight constriction of the back of the throat, will help really put a stopper in decay, as Amy likes to say. And could it stop death? Maybe. And it's a victorious breath. So conquering any, as Mickey has said in his pranayama sessions, conquering any inner demons or like the voices in the head that say, you're not good enough, or no, don't do that, don't speak up. It's like, shh. Ujjayi can clear that. And Kapalabhati, that as well, like just focusing on the exhale, pumping out any toxins, any negative dialogue scripts in the head, thought patterns, pumped out. You're just in pure presence. And lastly, a nice mudra for saucha is the Surya mudra, which is connecting the thumb pad to the finger pad of the pinky finger. If we want to increase the fiery energy, ring with the thumb. I think that's what it said in the manual. And that's if we want to increase the solar energy in the body, the more yang element. And if we feel it's overactive and we want to tone it down, we place the thumb pad at the base of the pinky finger. So I am ring finger to ground any fiery energy. Yes, like ground the fire or increase the fire, kind of like on a stove, turning up the heat, turning down the heat. And then some questions on slide 10, some self-inquiry, some svadhyaya. I'm putting it to you all for a parigraha. How do you practice letting go of mistakes? How do you practice letting go of mistakes?
What is it?
Yeah, what is a mistake? That's a good question.
I think a mistake would be defined as at any given moment with all the information you have accessible to you and know it's the wrong decision. But if you make that's really happy.
Did you hear that one, Mickey, or how? No. So yeah, Polly said, well, first, Jem questioned what is a mistake. Are there any? Are there ever really any mistakes? And Polly said that, she said that given like an individual in a particular situation, say they've consulted all the resources that they know, and they know that choosing one option would be the wrong or the immoral option, and knowing that there's an actual better, more positive option, and still choosing the immoral option, then that could be viewed as a mistake. And that's, she also contrasted that against a situation where an individual, they had all the tools or thought they had all the tools, but maybe they didn't actually, and they've just made a conclusion based on all that they knew. How can that be a mistake? Like, they're just trying their best with what they've got, what they're given.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on that, it's, you know, I guess in the end, it's an opportunity to learn, isn't it? So if you, and that's could be a good way to answer that question. How do you let go of mistakes? Well, first of all, see it as an opportunity to learn. So lesson learnt, and then we can kind of let go of the let go of any confusion around it.
Yeah, so they said not identifying with the mistake, and not, taking it on board as, oh, now that's me. I wear that, that shame or that mistake. Oh, I'm such a bad person. Woe is me. And then sort of falling into that victim mentality, or like I'm less than, or I'm inferior. It's like, no, okay, everyone makes mistakes, like, or, makes oopsie daisies. And you learn from it. Christina has to leave. She says bye. He says bye. Bye.
It's
Yeah.
it's a big part of our human experience, to come here and we're in this school of learning, and the only way we can learn is through mistakes. So mistakes are part of our humanity, really. we need to embrace them. I mean, obviously, once you learn a lesson through the mistake, then you can come into knowledge over ignorance, ultimately. But it's a process, isn't it?
The process. And then conversely, how do you practice letting go of successes? Times when, we've done really well. How do we not let it, how do we not take that on as a part of me? Like, I'm the achiever. I've done this great thing, and, sort of put ourselves on a little pedestal in a way, and then let it get to our heads. How do we let go of our successes? How do we acknowledge and let go of them? Cover up, like, as in using successes to, some people may use success as a distraction to cover up a void or a feeling of lack. Like, I'm not worthy, so I feel not worthy, therefore I feel I have to prove myself, so I'm going to overachieve, or I'm going to really perform to show that I'm outwardly successful. Is that better? Yeah. So in saying that, how would we let go of, I've done this thing, and just like we would a mistake, would we sort of approach it the same way? Like, okay, I've learned this from, this success or whatever we deem a success, and I'm gonna, apply that lesson where I need to apply it. Like, maybe. What is success? What we're told
right?
So different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
Success is subjective. Mm.
That is fixed,
Mm.
defined for us.
Predefined by institutions. Yeah. We're growing up and now we're taking back the power and we're choosing, okay, how do we want to define success? What does it mean for me as the individual? What is my success? It may look similar to other people. It may look probably completely different. It's probably as unique as ourselves, as our thumbprints. It can be having happy relationships, cooking, consistently home cooking. It just varies from person to person. It's not just I need to hit this salary bracket or I need to be a barrister or it's different to what we were taught when we were yeah. And one last question on aparigraha before we move to saucha. And the question is, what may you find challenging about non-attachment? What may you find challenging about non-attachment? Anything. Or is it easy for us to let go? Is it as simple as the exhale? Depends on the thing at hand. how, how far, it depends on how far you are into the matrix you are and how conditioned you are, so to says. Yeah. Letting go may almost feel like death, like physically, like being obliterated, like I do not exist, I'm nothing, shit. Yeah. Yeah. Which is terrifying. Yeah. Yeah.
One of my biggest challenges on my journey with that would be just letting the need for security and safety. So you do certain things which have an attachment value, such as you work to save money to have a secure house, a secure job, or those material possessions which you feel will give you that security, that stability, that safety. So that's difficult to let go of. That's that to not be attached to being secure in a sense. Even though of course there's absolutely even if you had all the money in the world and all the material possessions, there's no guarantee that that's going to give you any security or stability. The next day the storm comes in, destroys it all. Who knows what's going to happen from day to day? So there's absolutely no possibility of really having any stability or security in a long-term sense. So, but it's a conditioning that we have. We're very deeply ingrained. You do all that we do is a lot of what we do is move towards that, isn't it? To gain that financial success, that stability in a career, in a relationship, all of the things, so that we can have that security.
Well, says it's in a Western context to find out the importance on financials. Maybe it's maybe it's super emphasized in the West above all else, maybe. But other cultures, it's definitely leaked into.
One of the questions that is coming up, survival, sure whether it's years or time the opportunity to consider it to get a nervous system, right? So they have the opportunity to interact with the nervous system and grow with so that's why.
No, 100%. So we talk about this a lot in like environmental justice and how there's this ingrained element of privilege associated with being able to act on social and environmental issues because that's right there. That's okay. Because if you're using all your time and resources and means as, like you said, as a means of survival, then how can you go to a protest? How can you afford eco-friendly products? Like, there's
Maslow's hierarchy of love.
Yes, that's safety.
Maslow's hierarchy.
Yeah. We talked about Maslow's also, I think, towards the beginning of the year as well. Like, yeah, it's getting those foundational, essential human basic needs met first, and then only and then are you ready to like go up to the next level and like dig a bit deeper.
You've
And
got the sannyasis who are strict, and they have to go house to house asking for the next meal. So,
like the monk, is that a monk?
yeah, but I think it's a circle because first you prepare yourself and then you prepare to do all of that. So if you're unwilling, and
It's almost like a loop though, because the more you detach from, say, the material, then the less you need. Therefore, the less you need to work or earn to satisfy those needs. So it kind of, it's that cut and parcel.
It's all proportionate.
Yeah.
So like the less things we crave, like then the less we may need to work, and then the less money we may need to fund our lifestyle because it is.
It requires less.
Yeah, it requires less. It's simplified. It's not as complex or demanding, or not as demanding as say like a person who's always partying and needs, or like every day or something, like I don't know, uses a lot of money, spends a lot of money to fund their lifestyle. So if you have less desires, and you can meet your needs in a more efficient, cost-effective way, then you maybe don't need as much money. I don't know. Yeah, more money, more problems. Well, yeah, there's a lot of studies that show that like millionaires and billionaires have like these mad anxieties and like high levels of stress because they're so worried and they're so attached to their money, their possessions, their stuff, that they could be stolen or hacked the next day, that they just feel isolated, even though they have all this money, they have all this material wealth, but are they really rich? What is richness? What is success?
And if you think about, having ample time, if you think about freedom as sort of wealth, then you'll have a very different outlook on what's important. I was listening to a podcast about depression in famous people, and they were saying because their highs are so high, it's always like, what's next? You've got to almost like one up it and keep leveling up. And to bring them back to emotional stability, it requires that, again, finding the divine in the everyday and appreciating the little things and sort of stripping back all the excess and the fluff and going, what do I need?
What do I need?
What makes me happy? If I were to lose everything, what's that?
Yeah. Back to basics. If my house were to burn down, what's the first sort of thing that I would grab, or what's the first person I'd make sure is safe? Like, just really treasuring the irreplaceable, the relationships. Yeah.
When you watch all those like reality shows with like everybody rich billionaires, Housewives, Kardashians, all that shit, and they've just got billions of dollars.
Like the Kardashians, squillions of dollars.
Everything's good.
Multiple cars.
Yeah. They're so vacant.
They seem vacant.
They seem so
empty.
They get so shitty.
Uptight and shitty.
They get so upset at like. They just seem so. They always seem so like over dramatic about.
It'll be like
and they're sad.
Bella didn't come to my launch party on the weekend. Like she's dead to me. It's like, that's the biggest problem in your life. Like you're so blessed,
Yeah, I feel like they're so empty inside that
Mm.
They just assert they just really
Right.
Yeah.
sort of low resilience to
Mm.
life things that, yeah.
Rich people may have lower resilience.
We're being a little judgmental.
Yeah, very like, yeah, very, very.
Everyone's on their own journey for some, for whatever reason. If they need to be in that vacant time of their life, then that's absolutely okay. Listen, we need to move on just because of time. So should we breeze through those last two questions? Maybe just look at them very quickly, and then because we've only got just over an hour to do some mudra work.
Yeah. And just do you feel motivated more by joy or obligation throughout life, and why?
Depends.
Depends.
And again, coming back to that issue of survival. So if I have low cash flows, then I'm going to be time poor. Therefore, I will be seeking less joy and focusing on them.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
another great example is the artist who the musician who's making music because they've got that creative flow and they want to express themselves, and it's coming out of joy, or shit, I actually need to make some money out of my music, so what's going to sell, what's going to what are other people going to like, and then that's when that obligation comes in, isn't it?
Totally. So true. Yeah. I think we can leave it there.
Quickly, going back to what is challenging about like the letting go and the detachment, I think love plays quite a big part in that as well. Like love for other people, love for our environment. But if you're relinquishing this existence, this self, it's like, but what about my family? What about my friends? Are they coming too? I find myself personally, very emotionally connected to my circle, my people I interact with, or form strong connections with. But there's that too.
Makes it can be hard.
Yeah.
Can be very hard.
That's a very interesting point, actually, Polly, because I think it is a basic human need, in a sense, to feel connection to others, to other people, to a community, to friends, to family. While obviously on the spiritual path we are on the path of connecting to spirit, and on that path we find that actually we are connected to everything anyway. So in a sense, there's no loneliness, or there's no possibility of being lonely, really, on the ultimate spiritual path. It's an interesting, because we talk about possessions and thoughts and identity as something that keeps us locked into separation. But I think when that love for other people is as I said, it's a basic human need to connect to others, and it's in a way it's a way to tune into that deeper connection to all that we are. I guess, but in a sense, there needs to be. You can still have a beautiful appreciation of the love that you have for others, but the non-attachment part there is just really the realization that nothing lasts forever. So your friendships might change, your grandparents will pass away, and that the people in your lives won't always be there. So that's just the non-attachment part, just to realize that even those beautiful connections, which are perfectly valid to uphold and to be in, they are temporary too. They're not forever lasting. Yeah, difficult one, challenging one, isn't it? And I mean, you know, I think often we can, if you look at things from that karmic perspective of lives, of living numerous lives, and always often coming back to meet the same people that are dear to you, in different forms, in different relationships, in different incarnations, but purely because there's lessons to be learnt between these connections. So they're valuable. I think, you know, it's valuable to have those connections and to honour them and to learn the lessons. But at the same time, just, I think, you know, at some point, maybe when the work is done, those connections could potentially dissolve. But it might, you know, it might be lifetimes. So it's not like we have to let go of that connection even in this lifetime. You can be married to someone and have a beautiful life together for your whole life, and that's perfectly fine to do that. It's a wonderful thing if it works, if it flows, if the connection is there. Something like that, anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you.
Thanks, Mickey. Thanks all.
Thank you, Bella. That was wonderful. Really enjoyed that. I think we all learned a few things there and made some good reflections. And I mean, isn't it wonderful how these, you know, we often just see, yamas and niyamas, they're just kind of like the ethics, the guidelines, put them at the start and then get on with the practice. But actually there's so much wisdom in exploring each of those ideas, each of those subjects. So much we can learn and grow from exploring them. So yay. So for our new friends, newer friends, that's at one point we'll do our lecture on the 8 limbs of yoga, and we'll look at the yamas and niyamas, and then that's the idea, is that everyone chooses a couple of yamas and niyamas and goes a little deeper with them to explore and then present it as a little presentation, just like that. So something to look forward to. 2-minute break, 2-minute pee break, and let's come back for our lecture after that. Yeah.
This is good. Now I just want to eat chocolate.
Chocolate, yum, yummy.
It's been good. It's been busy. I worked last night till about 2 a.m. And then I was up at 9 helping my friend in the city. He's running a fairground for 7-Eleven.
What's a fairground?
Oh, could we actually?
Yep, that's me. A fairground, like a Ferris wheel.
Oh, really?
Just like
festival
arcade
fair.
things and
Yeah,
stuff.
fair.
Yeah, because 7-Eleven are doubling the price of their coffee. So they're giving out free coffee and banana bread and a fairground, showground, whatever you want to call it, in the city. So I was helping him with that. He had to like move some speakers and stuff.
This is your friend who did the combo.
No, Simon. No. That's my best friend.
Is it gay?
Oh.
Hey, guy. I didn't pick it up again. I just did not.
He was very much like
That's your best friend.
yeah. After I filmed it, I like posted it on Yoga Stars, and I was like, "Oh, my friends from teacher training are commenting on the video." He's like, "Where did you post that?" Like, oh my goodness!
Oh, you're
relax.
That was cute.
Oh, I need to watch that. That looks so cute.
Yeah, I'm just finally catching up on
Oh my god. So I got this text this morning, and the text said, "Mum, this isn't my phone. I broke mine. Text me on a temporary number. This is the and they gave me a number and said, message me on WhatsApp, please. I need a favor. It's urgent. X." And I was like, my mum doesn't text like that.
That sounds like a scam.
So I responded saying, "Who is this?" And I didn't answer. And then I texted my dad just then because I just remembered it. And I was like, "Did mum?"
It's not okay.
He was like, and then I heard this thing. My friend at work was telling me recently that there was this huge
Well, there was the Optus hat.
there was the Optus hat, yeah, and my dad was like, "Yes, it's not," he just responded with like a thumbs down. He was like, "Yes, this is exactly what was on the news the other day, be careful not to respond, block the number." And I was like, "Oh, I responded."
Let's make it go click the link.
But I didn't go on WhatsApp and message that number. I just responded to that text saying,
I
"Who is
imagine
this?"
it probably came from like a centralized like computer system.
Yeah.
So by replying to it, I think it would be through WhatsApp that they require.
If I was hacked, how would I know?
Passport,
Yeah.
driver's license.
No.
Stolen her whole identity.
Since when it's gonna happen? So, but how?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm like, it's gonna go.
All right, team, can we turn our book to the mudras section, which is
83. Or 81.
there we go, okay. Control panels to everything. Got that?
Yep. Think of Microsoft Windows or Word or computer control panel.
I was talking about this yesterday. We need a control F function for the brain. Imagine,
Oh,
imagine, fine, control F for the brain. Someone's got to actualize this because there's so much stuff in there. And we were talking about how every once in a while something happens, like a song or a smell, and you're like, you forgot that happened.
Yes.
What does Control F do?
Find.
Like,
Fine. Ah, okay. Thank you. I know a new thing on my computer now. Yeah, I mean, look, in a sense, that's what the mudras are. This kind of subtle way of just fine tuning and redirecting the energy. Maybe not quite like that. Not
On the way.
function F, but you know, getting there. Yeah. So yeah, if we read that, it says that the Sanskrit word mudra can be translated to gesture or attitude. Mudras have been described as seals to distribute prana or life force throughout the body and mind. So that's what it literally means, a seal. It's a certain position of the hand. It doesn't have to be just of the hand, but often we use the hands for these to create these seals. They are energetical or subtle communication system of arranging your body in a certain way. You can change the way your system functions by changing the positions of your palm. This is a whole science by itself, which eventually involves the grids and circulatory system of the body. Depending on which area you create tension into to create a certain mudra, the energies will then move in a particular way. So just as you can breathe into different areas of the body, so you can use the compression of the body to stimulate signals around the nervous system. So in a similar way to how we look at when we do yin, or you know, even more so when we work with the etheric body in acupuncture, the energy body, and so that, you know, we're acknowledging the nadis, the energy system of the body, with all its little points here and there of energy points, and so by just creating a certain pressure in certain areas, will stimulate that energy channel. So mudras opening up to the cosmos. In Indian culture, for everything they identified a particular asana, mudra or breath. The hands are part of the Anahata chakra. They can control many things. Think about how you can command with your hands. Here there's a suggestion, but of an exercise. We won't do that just because of time, but you could form into a group and tell a story with mudras, just with mudra hand gestures and the mudras of the eyes as well. They are the control panel for our lives. Mudras are hand gestures applied in many yogi practices and body positions. They're used as tools in yoga and meditation to achieve higher states of consciousness and ultimately enlightenment. So you're probably familiar with a few mudras already. The Namaste prayer gesture with the hands together over the heart, and the meditative hand position of the thumb and index finger lightly touching, Om, commonly seen even in Western culture. Mudras are subtle physical movements which directly alter the pathways of consciousness. So they can manipulate the flow of prana. The nadis and chakras consistently distribute prana. Mudras help to keep the prana inside the body. So there's a classic sorry, just got someone dropping something off for me.
So many mudras there.
Yeah, a couple of mudras there. But yeah, there's that classic saying that a yogi is one who controls, who keeps all the prana within his body. And so mudras are a way of redirecting the prana in the body, just very subtly, particularly with the hand mudras, and with all the mudras. But they help to create this kind of loop, energetic loop. So we can sit in meditation and have the hands open, and that's okay, that's fine. But there's always some energy that leaks out of the hands. And then as soon as you create, it doesn't matter which finger you use, each finger, like we know in yin, all the various meridians have different connections to different organs, to different emotions, so that's why you've got all these different kind of creative ideas of why you can use mudras for different purposes. But ultimately, it's all about just redirecting that energy back into the body, back into the system. So just very subtly, whichever finger you connect with, but you might change that connection according to your intention. What do I want to work with here? Do I want to work with, with love? Do I want to work with peace? Do I want to work with raising my consciousness, connecting my individual self to the universal self? That's often the representation of the thumb and the index finger. The thumb is the universal self, and the index finger is the individual self. So it's this connecting of those two aspects. Can you still hear me? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Did I cut out there?
We can hear you. You've just frozen it. Yeah.
Stuck in the matrix.
We can hear you though. Yep, all good.
Okay.
Back to normal. I mean,
Can I ask a question quickly? What is the difference between Anjali Mudra and Namaste? The Namaste Mudra, are they the same?
Same. Yeah. So really, it's Anjali Mudra. Anjali Mudra is the name of the mudra, you could say, but Namaste is the intention, I guess. It's what we say. Yeah. But sometimes, I mean, you know, you can say if you want, you can call it the Namaste Mudra if you like. So where were we? Once prana is encapsulated in the body, the mind goes coherent, which can induce the state of pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses. Mudras are described in detail in ancient yogic texts and scriptures such as the Geranda Samhita, the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and Shiva Samhita. The integration of mudras into yoga has given these hand gestures meaning in a deeper context, both symbolically and culturally. And the Sanskrit mudra definition translates to gesture or seal. Mudras are used in the Buddhist and Hindu practices of yoga to create an energetic seal within the body. That is, they close or seal a circuit of energy existing between two or more points in the body. Mudras are ultimately utilized to awaken the divine spiritual power that is within each of us and balance energy within the body. The use of mudras is thought to have numerous physical health benefits as well, and are even used as remedies for physical sickness and disease. To focus energy within the body and manifest that energy outside the body. The science of the mudras. Through the specific compressions, energy is sent to unconscious reflexes. The unconscious or subconscious then has energy flowing into the once dormant areas, which then creates new neurotransmitters and cellular nets to spark rewiring the brain, opening channels that were not flowing with energetic neurons. This in return creates new patterns of the body and mind. So that's a pretty cosmic paragraph right there, that more than just redistributing the energy or containing the energy, it can actually help to create new neurons or new neurotransmitters to rewire your brain. So imagine the potential for that in healing. So here are a few mudras. There are many more, but these are the main ones used for modern asana practice. Okay, there's a list of a few of the hand mudras there. So let's start at the two bottom ones, the chin and the jnana mudra. The chin mudra is the chin and the jnana mudra are the mudras basically where we connect the index finger to the thumb. Yeah, and the basically, in a nutshell, the chin mudra is when the palm is facing upwards, and the jnana mudra is when the palm is facing down. And what that represents, in a sense, is when it's facing upwards, it's the psychic gesture of consciousness. So in a sense, you're opening up to the universal, to the universe. And it's like, this is what we often will suggest to our students in our classes. Come into either a jnana or a chin mudra, palms up to connect to the universe, to connect to universal consciousness, or palms down to draw the awareness inwards. So it's actually called the psychic gesture of knowledge when the palms are facing down. So it's connecting to our inner wisdom, drawing the energy inwards. And this one's more kind of receiving universal energy. The word jnana means wisdom or knowledge. So this is, in a sense, the gesture of intuitive knowledge. Whereas chin, the chin mudra, the word chin derives from the word chit or chitta, which means consciousness. So the chin mudra, therefore, is the psychic gesture of consciousness. And in a sense, the other three fingers represent the three gunas, the three gunas or qualities of nature. So tamas, stability; rajas, activity; and sattva, luminosity and harmony. So in order from consciousness to pass from ignorance to knowledge, these three states must be transcended. The index finger represents individual consciousness, the jivatma, while the thumb, the supreme consciousness. In jnana and chin mudra, the individual index finger is bowing down to the supreme consciousness, the thumb, acknowledging its unsurpassed power. The index finger, however, is touching the thumb, symbolizing the ultimate unity of the two experiences and the culmination of yoga. So I'm reading that little quote from that book there, the Asana Pranayama Mudra Bandha book, which you should all have. And it's in the mudra section in that. So this book has a pretty good section on the mudras. Then, if we go back up, I'm just sort of skimming through here because I think there's a few other mudras laid out later on. No, it's okay. So the Hridaya mudra is the mudra of the heart. So this mudra connects. It's those two there, isn't it? I think it's like that. It connects. So you place the tips of the index finger at the root of the thumb, the Hridaya. And then join the tips of the middle and ring finger, or the middle and ring finger to the tips of the thumb, and the little finger remains straight like that. And that's Hridaya, which is the heart gesture. The heart gesture mudra. So it helps to divert the flow of prana from the hands to the heart area, improving the vitality of the heart. The middle and ring finger relate directly to nadis connected with the heart, while the thumb closes the pranic circuit and acts as an energizer, diverting the flow of prana from the hands to these nadis. So it's therefore beneficial for your heart. The heart is the center of emotion. This helps to release pent-up emotion and unburden the heart. A great one to be practiced during emotional conflict or crisis. Get into your Hridaya mudra. And then Bhairava mudra is the one, the classic kind of meditation posture that you just put one hand on top of the other. So the idea of Bhairava mudra is it's like Ida and Pingala connecting. Left is your moon channel, right is your sun channel. So this is the union of those two channels. In a similar way that you could say also the Namaste, that one.
I have a question.
Anjali. Yeah, go on.
Dhyana mudra, Amy mentions in the book as similar to or the same as Bhairava mudra, except with the right hand on top of the left. The right hand symbolizing like enlightenment, awareness,
Like that, yeah.
And that one. That's Dhyana.
Dhyana. That's right. Correct. Dhyana mudra. So it's similar. It's the same. This is Bhairava, and Dhyana is when the thumbs connect, and I guess the difference is that the thumbs are touching, so there's another energetic, sort of further energetic connection there or loop happening. But yeah, either or can be mudras, Bhairava or Dhyana. Yeah.
Thank you. What's Yoni mudra? Is that like the triangle shape or?
So yoni is, yes, it's this here. So it's representing your yoni.
I love it. I love it.
So you interlace the fingers and it's a downward energy. So we consider the yoni energy as a downward energy, with the masculines an upward energy.
Men doing it as well.
Sorry?
Men doing it as well.
Men do it as well. Is that?
Can men do it as well? Oh, of course men can do it. Was the question, can men do it as well? Was that the question?
When they talk, and they usually have this, mudra when they're talking.
I didn't ask. I didn't get the question. Sorry.
Yoni mudra, but I see men using it quite a bit. Why? What's my question?
So why would a man use the yoni mudra? Because I guess it's not just about whether you are male or female. It's connecting to female energy, and so in a sense, it's the energy of the womb, or the source. It's the yoni mudra invokes the primal energy that's inherent in the womb, or source of creation. And that primal energy, we could also see that as, we call that Shakti energy, in a sense, the Shakti energy that brings all into creation. So it's not a male or female thing, in a sense. It's just Shakti, which we're all a part of that. We just say, okay, that's the female or the male energy, but that's the female or male energy moving through all of us, whether our body's male or female, doesn't matter. Yeah. So it's anyone can do a yoni mudra. But of course, I mean, potentially being female, you may have more of an affinity to it because you can relate to it on maybe more levels, in a sense, than a man can. But yeah, not to dismiss the possibilities for a man to use it as well. So yeah, let's say those are the 5 most, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 most popular ones. Then we've got the mana mudras, which are the head mudras. Although another beautiful mudra, another hand mudra, which Bella talked about before, and thank you, Bella, for bringing some mudras into your talk, because that was a nice leeway. But you talked about the lotus mudra, so that's another beautiful mudra that we can work with, and that that represents all of what we discussed before, that blossoming of consciousness, that coming out of the mud of the dirt that the lotus is born from, and blossoming into this beautiful flower on the top of the water. So yeah, beautiful one to tune into, if we want to connect to our higher potential. That's just one to really tap into that, our highest potential, our creativity and our beauty, in a sense, isn't it? So, and when do we use these mudras? They are definitely something we can just work with as a meditation in itself. So as part of our meditation, we can incorporate them into our meditation. Just purely sitting in meditation with your Nyan or Chin mudra is a useful thing to do, or the Dhyana mudra, or whichever hand gesture feels good, but you circulating the energy, so it's going to help you in your meditation, in whichever way you're doing that. Pranayama as well. When we work with pranayama, it's always really useful to incorporate mudras into our pranayama. We're already circulating prana, we're moving that energy through Nadi Shodhana or whatever pranayama we're working. And so traditionally, like in Nadi Shodhana, for example, there's a couple of mudras just that you should be working with the whole time. You got your hand that's not on the nose is just in a Nyan or Chin mudra, and then the other hand is that in itself is a mudra, that connection there. Or you can do it that way. That's called the Vishnu mudra, and you work it that way. Vishnu mudra is when the index finger and middle finger enter the pad of the thumb. Yeah. So then you can use the ring and the thumb to alternate the pressure. Vishnu mudra.
There's also like the Ganesha mudra. That one, like locking the fingers like this on the chest, like removing any obstacles. And you could chant, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And then it's like everything is in the path.
Beautiful.
Ganesha mudra. And like the peace fingers one is a thing, right? Like, have you heard it called Bu, BHU, Bu mudra? Like up to receive and down to ground. Like I saw it in like a breath or yoga magazine or something.
Okay, not familiar with that. I mean, there's lots. There's heaps of variations, and I don't know if even a lot of them have just been made up recently or whatever. But it doesn't matter really. Ultimately, just knowing that these, in a sense, you can be spontaneous with your mudras too, and that's a beautiful thing about, actually when you're kind of tapping into your intuition. And mudra, it doesn't have to be like, has to be done this way and that particular connection there, and it has to be up or down or whatever. There's the traditional ways, but you know, you can be totally spontaneous. In a sense, you know, you can see people dancing using mudras in a beautiful dance, which is a beautiful creative expressive way to bring them in, but also it's still working on that subtle level to do that to do what it does, to circulate the energy. But yeah, then there's the head mudras, and so they're interesting ones. And Shambhavi mudra, that's the eyebrow gazing mudra. So that's basically where you're gazing up at your third eye. So it's like you're crossing the eyes up like that into the third eye. And again, that's a pretty cosmic one. That's said to help activate the third eye when you take that internal gaze. So eyes open and you look up at the third eye. So you're kind of cross-eyed essentially, but in a sort of upward diagonal gaze. The eyes moving towards looking at your third eye. And yeah, I mean, I encourage you to give that one a try in your meditation occasionally. Just come into a Shambhavi mudra and hold it for some time. It's quite challenging to hold for a long time because it's kind of creates a bit of a strain on the eyes.
Yes. So on like a physical level, is it straining for the eyes? I guess it just depends on how much you're doing it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is straining to begin with, but it's like anything. It's like you're building muscles even in the eyes. So if you practice it regularly, it actually becomes easier and easier. And then ultimately you do it with the eyes closed. So you're still crossing the eyes, but with the eyes closed, gazing at the third eye. So you start with just, a few rounds, like, you would incorporate it. Again, a great way to incorporate your mudras really is incorporate into your pranayama practice. So I do one practice where I incorporate Shambhavi mudra and Kechari mudra. So Kechari mudra is that third one, that's the tongue lock. And incorporating Shambhavi mudra and Kechari mudra into an Antat Kumbhaka, into an internal retention. So I'll do a deep breath in. Actually, I usually work with a Viloma rhythm, so stagger, the inhale. But once the breath is in, I'll incorporate Shambhavi mudra, turn the eyes to look up, and then the tongue lock, and the root lock, the bandhas. So incorporate all of that. So even the bandhas themselves, in a sense, are a mudra. They're specific in the sense that they're called bandhas, but they can also they can be bracketed into mudras as well, because they're creating the same idea, the energetic locks. But the Kechari mudra, the tongue lock, is basically you're rolling your tongue up and back, and the idea is that you're almost trying to get it into the back of the throat. Ultimately, you're getting it so far back into the back of the throat that it goes up into the nasal cavity. So what the yogis did was they would actually use a very fine blade, and over time they would cut the frenum of the tongue, and the little, the little thing that connects your tongue under there. It's called I think it's called the frenum or something. They would slowly cut into that, and that would. If we go to the next page, actually, here we go. there it is, Kichari Mudra. And let's actually, we'll just read that so you get a better idea. Kichari Mudra is considered the king among mudras. In Sanskrit, the word ka indicates Brahman, or the supreme reality, and chara means to move. So Kichari Mudra helps the practitioner to move in the blissful infinite consciousness of Brahman. Kichari is an advanced practice that enables the yogi to reach higher states of consciousness. Kichari Mudra is mentioned in Geranda Samhita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and various other yogic and tantric texts. Kichari Mudra is a yoga practice where the tongue is rolled up to touch the soft palate initially, and then with due practice it is inserted into the nasal cavity behind the palate. This is an advanced practice, and the yogi is said to overcome thirst, hunger, decay and death by this practice. For most people this needs prolonged effort. The tongue should be rolled up to touch the upper palate. Initially it may be able to touch only the hard palate. With practice it can go further behind to touch the soft palate. Later touches the uvula at the back of the throat, and with practice the tongue can go beyond the uvula and enters the nasal cavity to stimulate certain points inside the cavity. This may take months or years of practice. Eventually the yogi is able to taste the nectar or amrit which flows from the roof of the nasal cavity. This nectar energizes the body and helps to overcome the need for thirst and food. So there's two ways to perform Kichari Mudra, with or without cutting the frenum membrane under the tongue. In the Raja Yoga method, cutting the frenum is not advised. Instead, with certain practices like Talabhya Kriya, the tongue can be made long enough to enter the nasal cavity. In Hatha Yoga method, the frenum membrane below the tongue is cut bit by bit to extend the tongue. This enables the tongue to easily pass into the nasal cavity. The Hatha Yoga technique is only for advanced yogis and should only be done under the guidance of a yogi who's an expert in Kichari Mudra. So there you go. So next week, please bring your blades and we'll start cutting our frenums. Joking. But yeah, that's, you know, if you really wanted to go extreme with things, that's how you can go into extremities. We don't need to go into extremities though. I mean, you know, I mean, if one is called, then okay, but it's certainly, there's no absolute need for any of these extreme practices. And it's not, you know, there's quite a few kind of extreme practices in Hatha Yoga, which yeah, are not all advisable. But Kichari Mudra is a beautiful mudra to work with. I do work with it regularly. It's a regular part of my practice, and it's one that I've developed over the last few years more so. It's an interesting one, just by I guess by going into teaching it, I explored it a bit more myself, and then I just developed a really beautiful affinity to it, and it now, for me, it comes quite instinctively. Like it just, when I'm doing my pranayama, I'll often just naturally, instinctively work with Kichari Mudra. I don't get my tongue into the nasal cavity. I get to the soft palate. That's about it. Any questions on that?
Your eyes water, Nikki, when you do it?
Eye shut, did you say?
Water. Does it make your eyes water? Because I was just trying it then, and it makes my eyes really watery when I get my tongue sort of past that back bit and almost like slightly up.
I haven't noticed that.
Maybe I'm just going too hard too quickly.
Too far too soon. Yeah, interesting. I haven't noticed that, but maybe it's a thing.
This is a bit of a revelation for me, particularly these just because it's something that I guess, particularly when it's something that has, I guess, subconsciously or unconsciously happened, where all of a sudden I'm like sort of viewing the physical world in a different way. And I got quite freaked out once because I asked a friend, I was like, when I do this, am I cross-eyed? And they were like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm just distorting the reality unnecessarily. And I got quite worried that it was actually straining my eyes. But knowing that these are actually techniques that people use to sort of redirect that awareness and consciousness is really exciting.
Absolutely. No, I think that's yeah. That to me too it was a realization that happened for me in some medicine ceremonies, and just going into a lot of these spontaneous mudras, and not thinking about it, not consciously doing them, but just it's like you're guided into it, and it just really has that deep effect of somehow holding that space, redirecting that energy in a because you're tapping into those deeper states in that sense. So having this as a so yeah, I guess some people like yourself, like you said, you didn't even know about mudras, and you just instinctively started doing them. So that's great that now you understand this a little more. But the fact that we do know them, and then we can have that awareness of if it does spontaneously happen to us, then okay, that's what's going on, that's what's happening. Is that circuitry is being rewired in a sense, which is pretty cool.
For me, it's almost like having the science to back it up, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another nice thing about mudras is how do you incorporate them even into your asana practice. It's just a really nice thing to weave them into your asana practice in whichever way you're inspired, in a sense, But classic one for me is working with a spine twist and bringing in a mudra like that. I find that really beautiful. Yeah, lots of different ways to be really creative with them, and that's what I encourage you to explore, how to creatively explore your mudras in asana, but also in just the mudras themselves in meditation. So in fact, what I would like you guys to do for your homework is to record yourself demonstrating 5 different mudras of choice, and you can just either, so this is something to put up in the Yoga Stars group, and it's either you can just simply go, okay, we're going to work with Chin Mudra today, we put the index finger, pattern and thumb means such and such, this is how we do it, we sit down, in that kind of way, or you could be even more creative and do a little flow, and in the flow say, and now as we come into our Warrior 2, we're bringing in this mudra here, or the Lotus mudra is coming in as we're coming into our tree pose, or whatever way you'd like to explore it. Be, in a sense, I would love to see a mix of something creative, like mudras flowing in your asana, but also a few just simple instructions on how to do basic mudras, and what's the meaning, what's the purpose there. There's still quite a bit here to go through, so we'll keep going. So if we go back to the page before Kachari, because we didn't look at that, there's a couple of tables I put in there which I thought were quite useful, showing the relationship of the different fingers. You see in that table there? The middle, index, thumb, pinky and ring, and how they can relate to the different elements and, you know, different kind of aspects, and showing different mudras that work with those particular connections. So that's pretty cool. And then the other more esoteric diagram of the hand is showing a map of the systems and organs of the body, and how they can also be mapped out in the hand. So those channels, such as, let's say, you know, where the ear is, ear just between the pinky and the ring finger, that's the ear connection meridian. So that you know, pressing around there would stimulate your ears, so probably your sense of hearing and whatnot. So, you know, just knowing and starting to understand that different parts of the hand, same as our feet, of course. The feet are also a roadmap to our organs and our systems of the body. So the feet, you know, there's that whole system of reflexology, which focuses on pressure points of the feet. So, what was that? Sorry?
This one.
Sorry, I didn't hear any of that. Not close enough. Maybe.
So just below the fingers on the wrist, it's got like the uterus, the ovary, the testis, the prostate, the penis. Are those only applicable in, say, set gender?
Good question. I don't know. Probably. That would make sense, wouldn't it? I'd say so.
Because I know, because we've got masculine, like as a female, we've got masculine energy within us, right? So I'm just wondering if that is something. But
yeah, I mean that's an interesting topic of conversation in a sense, you know, and particularly in these days of transgender happenings, and you know, people actually changing their genders through hormones and surgery and whatnot. So, you know, I think in a sense there's that potential. There's whether it's a latent potential within all of us to be transgender. I think it's a potential. Obviously, if you're strong in your gender, you're very comfortable in your femininity, or me in my masculinity, and there's no ever sort of thought of transgendering myself, then probably it wouldn't apply so much. But maybe if there was some possibility, some movement towards transgendering, I don't know if that's the right verb to use, but then potentially those points become more active for you, maybe. I don't know. It's almost like a bit more of a modern day conversation. Probably in the days of old, they wouldn't have considered that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was even back then, but there wouldn't have been the surgery or the hormonal stuff that happens these days that actually allows people to change their gender. Not that I'm aware of anyway. I don't know. Maybe there was. Maybe we don't really know what was going on 7,000 years ago, do we?
Primitive measures of
No, Mal.
What was that? Missed that.
Said maybe they had some more primitive ways of changing genders. I was like, oh no. I don't doubt it.
I mean, it's a whole different conversation. But, you know,
We're
like
getting a bit off
the
topic.
desire, the desire, if you have the desire to be, you know. Anyways, off
Something
topic,
to think
off
about.
topic.
Food for thought. So yeah, that little thing up there says about how Ayurvedic medicine, our hands hold the endpoints of energetic pathways carrying prana through our body. These pathways are called meridians. The same meridians used in acupuncture and reflexology. Modern medicine has shown that our hands contain hundreds of thousands of nerve cells, nerve endings. These nerves originate in the brain, circulate the body along with blood vessels, and end as highly sensitive and receptive points in the hands and fingertips. Our fingers are also believed to have connection points to the 5 elements: fire, air, space, ether, earth and water. Hasta mudras or hand mudras manipulate the flow of prana by connecting different meridians with different elements. The purpose of hand mudras is to redirect the flow of certain energies from the hand back into the body. So then if we turn over to the next page, it talks about Agochari mudra. And Agochari mudra is a nose-gazing technique. So essentially, it's similar in a sense to Shambhavi mudra. Shambhavi mudra, you cross the eyes to look up at your third eye. This one, you actually sort of cross them towards looking at the tip of your nose. So it's like like when you were kids and you want to go cross-eyed and you bring your finger to the nose. It's pretty much that. Agochari mudra. But it's supposedly a really powerful mudra. I haven't practiced this one much myself. I find that one does strain my eyes, but maybe, again, I just haven't practiced it enough. But yeah, it's one that is said to activate the Muladhara chakra and encourage Kundalini awakening. So yeah, that's another interesting possibility. Then if we go to the next page, Shambhavi mudra, which we looked at, Gyan mudra, or it's called in this other book Jnana mudra. Actually, this is confusing. Yeah, this is where things get a bit confusing, because Jnana mudra is usually, Jnana mudra is down facing. Chin mudra is up facing. And then here it says this is Gyan mudra, which is up facing again. So again, just sometimes there's different schools, different traditions have got slightly different names. I think essentially Gyan is the same as Chin, pretty much. But yeah, it's confusing because it sounds like Jnana mudra. Yeah, it's just a name thing, so not to get too caught up in that, but Jnana is always facing down, Gyan, Chin, facing up.
Surya mudra, which is the same as every
Sorry.
The same.
Can you get closer? I can't hear you.
Agni Mudra and Surya Mudra, are they the same?
Surya Mudra and which mudra?
Mm.
I'm not sure, actually. Surya Mudra. I think it's in... Is it in here? Surya Mudra is number... If we go to the next page, the seal of fire. So yeah, Surya Mudra is the thumb over the over the ring finger. Yeah.
That's Surya and this is Agni?
Surya and Agni, whether they are the same. Okay, gotcha. Well, interestingly, isn't it? In the book here, it says in our manual, it says Surya Mudra, the seal of fire. But yeah, as you rightly alerted us, that Surya is the sun and the fire is Agni. So I'm not sure. Can you look into that for us? Is Surya Mudra and Agni Mudra, are they the same mudra, or is there a difference in the way maybe they're similar? Maybe like you said, one's over the top and one's with connecting the points. Yeah, I'm interested to know. So I would like you to maybe in your homework, Sudha, to present Surya and Agni Mudra as either one and the same or as two different things, depending on what you find.
I just thought maybe because fire, sun is made of fire.
Say again, sorry, you have to get the laptop close to you.
The sun is made out of fire.
But maybe that's why it's the same thing, because it looks. But then in the picture, one of them has the tip, and the other one it's the thumb over the ring finger. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it makes sense that they're coming from the same source in a sense, aren't they? Fire is the sun energy. All right. Well, team, there's a few more there you can have a look at in our manual. But then, as I said, the other really good reference is that book there, the Asana Pranayama Mudra Bandha book. Very quickly before we go, in the Gita system, they like to use a lot of full body mudras, and there's a few of those, but the classic one is called the Yoga Mudra. And do it with me. I'll show you how we do Yoga Mudra. So Yoga Mudra from the Gita system is also different interpretations of Yoga Mudra, but from the Gita system, Yoga Mudra is sitting up nice and tall. So join me with this, we'll do this together. So do it together, we'll roll the shoulders back, sit up nice and upright, and bring our fingertips into the pads of the thumb. So chin mudra there, over backs of the hands over the knees. So that's our, let's say, our foundational pose. And so the idea with the Yoga Mudra is we do it 3 times, and we bring our intention into each round. So we split that intention into 3 parts, and usually the intention's about self, others, and all of nature, or all of creation. But whatever is called to explore in that sense. So we start and we work with the breath. So the arms splayed out over the knees. With an inhale, we bring the arms out to the sides, so we lift them up out to the sides, and palms face out to the sides, so the So following me, so you're in this position here. Oh, I think we've frozen. Okay. You guys are frozen, not sure if you can see me